Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Tech Your Business podcasts. Today on the show, we're talking about something interesting, but still important to all of us as entrepreneurs. When we apply tech to our businesses, we basically try to use tech to save time. Basically try to use tech to let us do more in the same time, to do more with the same resources and leverage our existing resources. And today I'm talking to someone called Captain Time. So our guest today is Garland Coulson. Garland Coulson is a time management trainer and coach, and he's an author also. So he's an author of the book, Stop Wasting Time, End Procrastination in 5 weeks. So I believe at the end of this episode, which we'll talk about task management tools, time management, and also ways that you can save time and not have to depend so much on tools and technology. So welcome to the show, Garland.
Thank you so much for having me, Peter.
Thank you very much. I just had a little battle with my camera a few minutes to the call starting. So tell us a
One of
bit
those
about
cases where
you.
technology isn't saving you time.
It does, as in it happens to the best of us at the end of the day. So tell us a bit about what you do and about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a time management coach, author, speaker. I coach a lot of entrepreneurs, but also other people, and I help them be more productive. I help them double and triple their productivity. A lot of this is with techniques, and a lot of it is also with technology. So,
Interesting. So for those that are new to the concepts, what are the core principles of managing your time effectively?
well, there's a ton of them, but first off, you can only manage yourself. You really can't do anything to generate more time. So it all comes down to choices in the end. Are you working on the most important thing? Are you fully focused and fully present on this task right now? Or are you multitasking, got three or four things on the go and jumping around and trying to do multiple things? So I would say those are kind of the core ones: prioritization and focus. And I call focus our secret superpower. It's something that most of us, we get used to this really busy world of multitasking with our smartphones and everything else we've got going on. And so then what happens is we're not really fully engaged in that one task, and we're not applying all of our brain power to it. If you want to land a rocket on the moon, you probably got to focus. If you want to launch a new successful business, you might need a little more focus.
And what you said is really true, because with technology these days, it's really, really difficult to focus. Because, for instance, we are talking here and I have my phone vibrating and I have a notification popping up, and it's just something else. Because if you don't force yourself, you find yourself leaving what you're doing and you just go somewhere else and you don't do your best either way. So how do you, in this new world, this our current world with distractions, technology and everything fighting for our attention, how do you suggest entrepreneurs can fight back?
So a number of things. First off, I'm really a fan of time blocking. So
Mm.
time blocking is where you set a dedicated amount of time aside for a certain thing. I'm an entrepreneur. I haven't had a paycheck in 25 years. Okay.
Wow.
So no paycheck for me. So if I don't market every week, what I find is I come to the end of my client projects and suddenly, oh, wait, I finished that last client project, but
Mm.
there's no project and hence no new money coming in for the next project. So I dedicate 25% of my week for marketing. And
Wow.
I'm ruthless. I hold that time sacred. I do not let other things, I'll just do this instead of my marketing. No, when it's my marketing block of time, that is all that I work on. And I do that. And the other thing is cutting out the notifications during that focus time. If you had
Mm.
something really important to do, I'd say maybe take 1 hour a day. I often call this the power hour, where you're going to do nothing but this one important project you're working on every day. And at that point, turn off your phone, So no vibrations. Close your email tab, close all of your other tabs. And my clients often share their screens with me during coaching. So I see how many tabs they've got open. And my average client has over 15 tabs open. And no wonder you can't find anything. You got all these things notifying you, new news, new emails. Slack can be open, Skype can be open. Microsoft Outlook is particularly vicious in that you can close the program entirely and you'll still get notifications through the Microsoft Notification Center. So we need to take control of all of our notifications and turn them off. You don't need to know when somebody liked you on Facebook, okay? You really don't need to know that in the middle of applying for $1 million grant. You don't need to know that somebody just liked you on Facebook. I mean, finish the grant first, then at your break, go check Facebook.
You know, when you talked about the tabs, I'm very, very guilty. I probably have like 50 tabs open. I never have less than 20. And you know, it's just so funny because I open something, I'm like, okay, I'll get back to you later. I'll get back to you. I've had tabs open for years and I never get back. It's it's something else. So what are the biggest time management mistakes you see business owners make?
The one is not focusing enough, like, not creating those focus times. And the other thing is not focusing on the priorities. So when you're a business owner, you probably started the business because you were good at something. So let's say if you're a plumber, you're maybe really good at plumbing, but you're not necessarily good at marketing. So you either have to hire someone to do that marketing, or you have to learn how to do marketing. And most of us don't want to spend time doing that. If we've got a client who needs a plumbing thing done, we'll go out and do the plumbing instead of sending one of our guys to do the plumbing, or instead of, if it could have waited till tomorrow, I'm going to do the plumbing instead of the marketing because I'm better at the plumbing. And we do that time and time again. Same thing if you're a writer or you're a coach, whatever you do. We like that kind of work. That's why we created the business. But unless we really have to embrace that, if you're an entrepreneur, you are a marketer. You are a salesperson. I have so many entrepreneurs saying, I'm not a salesperson. Yeah, you are. Either you're a salesperson or you're hiring a salesperson, or you're going down. Most businesses fail in 5 years. Yours is going down because there's no marketer in your system. So.
True. That's interesting because you talked about time blocking earlier, and I found the importance of that not too long ago. I have this really short attention span. I don't know where that came from, but I have it.
Social media. Probably.
Yeah. So I forget a lot. So for over a decade now, I first started with a jotter where I had my tasks for the day. Then I moved to a to-do list app on my phone. But I realized the phone is distracting. So sometimes I pick the phone and I want to check my app and I end up going somewhere else and doing something else. So when you talked about time blocking, it's something I actually discovered. Is it discovered or started implementing just a few months ago? So like right in front of me, I don't know if it can show, I have a timetable. So the day is divided into 1 hour blocks, and I say, okay, this, like, once I don't want this call up, say, okay, tomorrow from here to here, I'm going to do this. From here to here, I'm going to do this. From here to here, I'm going to do that. And I found that very, 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 very useful because I don't have to deal with my phone and its distractions. I'll look, okay, I'm going to do this and I'll focus on that. And it really works. So for other business, apart from this, and for other business leaders, how can they structure their days to maximize the time they spend on, like you said, marketing and high impact work?
Yeah, and there's multiple ways to do time blocking. You've done it hour by hour, which is quite common, and I sometimes do that. And you can also extend that. You might extend from 1 hour to 2 hours in marketing. Another option is to take your 5 days a week, split it in the mornings and afternoons. So morning, you're going to do marketing today. Afternoon, you're going to do writing for your blog. Tomorrow, you might do marketing in the morning, and tomorrow afternoon, you might do all your bookkeeping. So you can set aside that kind of block. Or you can use a full laser focused day where, Monday's marketing, Wednesday's marketing, Tuesday's content creation, and that kind of thing. There's another technique I use, and I think I'm the only one I've ever heard of using it, and I call it the rotary technique or the carousel technique. And I use this when I'm overwhelmed or if I've just got back from holidays and you got to touch every project now. everything's a priority and you don't know what to do. So what I do is I'll set a timer, and instead of the usual 30-minute Pomodoro timers that we
Mm-hmm.
use, I'll set a timer for 15 minutes. And then I will hit every project for 15 minutes, and I will only look either at the number one task in that project or at any
Mm-hmm.
tasks that are being held up for my team. So that, my
Mm.
team have questions on it, because then I answer all those team questions, and then it unblocks all my team and they get working on the rest of these things. So I call it a rotary technique, going through. And sometimes I don't do time blocking at all. Sometimes I just do rotary all the time, but usually I do 30-minute blocks if I'm doing it, in a normal circumstance. So, but in any case, the technique is you're going to uninterrupted work on something for 30 minutes and not let anything interrupt. And that's the key thing. I don't answer the phone during those periods. I don't have any notifications. All of my social media notifications are turned off on my phone. The only notifications I get on phone are text messages, and I usually ignore those if I'm working on an important project as well. So
That's actually interesting. That's something new, because one thing, I think I have two favorite things I like talking about. One is marketing, second is productivity. So yeah, I've actually picked a couple of interesting things from this so far already from this episode. So you talked about using a timer. So what are some apps or software or tools that you recommend for managing tasks, time, and priorities?
yeah, so first off, there's no one tool to rule them all. There's no best tool for task management or calendars or anything really.
Hmm.
It's a case of finding what works well for you. It's finding the one that resonates with you. So first and foremost, one of the key tools everybody needs is a task management system. And this is just a way to have your tasks listed for the day in priority sequence. Microsoft To Do, Asana, there's just tons of these out there. There's no shortage of them. And there's no, again, one best one. Trello is another one. The difference is how you learn. I'm a list person, so I'm very good with
Hmm.
lists, but visual people often prefer Kanban systems, which are where you're
Oh.
moving cards around like Trello. And they both will do the job. Like you can do the job either way, but it's just really a difference between two brands of hammers. If you're hammering a nail, both will hammer the nail fine. It's just a preference of how they feel to you. So that's the first one. A task management system is key. Secondly, is a calendar system. I tend to use Google Calendar just because everything connects to it, which is great. But any calendar will do as long as you can connect your things to it. And the third key tool I use is a CRM, a customer relationship
Hmm.
management system. And this is where I keep track of everybody I talk to, when I'm going to follow up with them next. All my clients are in there. I can search and find whenever people are connecting. So that's kind of the three. Now, if I wasn't in marketing, I might not need a CRM, but basically I need a place to keep my appointments, which is calendar, my tasks, which is the task management system, and my people, which is my CRM. And that's the key basics of it. That's sort of what I get everybody to start with when they're doing this. And then, of course, there's other tools. There's diagnostic tools such as time
Hmm.
trackers. There's habit tools you can use. One tool I use that saves me probably 3 or more hours a week is a text expander.
What's that?
So a text expander is a way to automate all your replies, your sales letters, your
Hmm.
sending URLs. So if you and I were chatting and at the end of this, you said, Garland, can you send me a link to your coaching? What I would do is I would just open up an email to you, and I would just type slash u, short for URL, then
Mm-hmm.
coach, and it will automatically drop in my coaching link.
Wow.
Or if I wanted to invite you to say my favorite business networking group, I've got a full-blown letter already written for that. And I would just type slash and then net group or whatever shortcut I've used, and it drops it in. The better ones out there will even put in both the subject line and then hit tab and then put in the body, and also even have an opening where it might say, good to meet you at, and then you can say, at Toastmasters last Wednesday, you can type in, so you can
Hmm.
add in the variables, add in the fields as well. You can add in the name. So these are brilliant. They just save, just an amazing amount of time every week. And I really shock my clients when it's kind of like, Garland, can you reach out to these 50 prospects for us? And I get it done in a day or two. And they're like, how did you reach out to 50 people? I said, it's really easy. Just all I'm doing is typing, like 7 or 8 keystrokes every time. It's not that hard. So yeah, that's an absolute brilliant tool. And the rise of AI has just had amazing impacts for productivity. Tools like ChatGPT for writing sales letters, for being able to brainstorm blog post headlines, even writing the entire articles. I use AI for creating my presentations. It's just, it's insane. I showed one of my clients this last night. She was quite new to all this technology stuff, and I had
Yeah.
it write an article for her in her field, and it wrote the article like while we're watching there in like 30 seconds. And I said, what do you think of it? She's, wow. She's like, I could build on this. I mean, it's not perfect, of course, but it's just like the ultimate brainstorming tool, because most of us don't have a whole bunch of people we can brainstorm with, right? So
True,
AI
true.
is like this amazing brainstormer for our creativity. So
Yeah, so and that's something I tell people, that end of the day, you can have AI as your second brain. It's just like having something, because one thing it really helps me with is writer's block. When I say blank page, it's intimidating, but at least AI can just do a draft and okay, yeah, I can just work with that. And it
do a
makes,
draft, ask it to create an outline, if you want to write a manual or an outline,
yeah.
even just brainstorming the headline, like what okay, I want this keyword phrase for my blog because I know it's a good one for SEO purposes, but what the heck should I call the article? And it brainstorms, 10 article ideas topic ideas for me using that keyword phrase in seconds. And then I can just pick and choose or adapt a bit and go on from there. So I'm not worried about it taking my job or I mean, it may take a few people's jobs, but in
True.
truth, it allows me to do so much more in the same amount of time that I become a real hero for my clients. So
Really true. Because most people say that AI won't take your jobs, or people using AI will take your jobs because they'll do much more with the same amount of
yeah.
time they had before. Yeah. So so you mentioned a couple of tools. You mentioned the AI, you mentioned the text expander, the CRM, the calendar and tax management tools. So how can business owners implement these tools in their workflow? Because I remember you said using what works for you is best. But how can they implement these to allow them save time, but also prevent them from getting overloaded or overwhelmed? Yeah, getting overwhelmed.
And it's very easy to overwhelm, especially with technology tools, because it's supposed to save you time. But I mean, how many of us are using any more than 10% of what most tools can do, right? Because there's just so much to learn. One of the key things is to actually fully use it. When I went looking for a task management system for me,
Hmm.
what I did was I downloaded 2 tools. Every week I would take 2 new task management tools, and I would fully work my projects in them. I'd split half my projects to one tool, half to the other projects. And so when it came to my time block time for that project, I would work fully in that tool. And I would do this for a couple
Hmm.
of weeks till I broke every tool. And then I would go on to the next tool. So I kept doing this until I found the tools that stuck with me, right? So that's the important thing. Many people sign up for a free trial of something, and then 15 days later, they haven't touched it yet because they got busy. So never sign up for a free trial unless you've got that time block for tomorrow or for today
Hmm.
that you're going to be spending 6 to 8 hours over the next week working within that tool, and fully work within it. So this is one of the interesting questions: is where do you live in your computer when you're doing tasks? So many
Hmm.
people live in their email, because a lot of stuff comes in by email, but email is not a task management system. It's a communication system. So I live in my task management system. If I ever get an idea, oh, I need to do that, it drops into my task management system. If I'm out for a walk, walking my puppies, I pull up my phone if I have an idea, and I drop it into my task management system if it's a task. That's where it goes. So it's got to have a place to live. You can't have it 2 or 3 places. Like you can't have a handwritten calendar somewhere, a calendar
Hmm.
in your phone, jotted a few notes in your phone, jotting a stuff in a notebook somewhere that's in a file cabinet. It's got to be one spot that you fully engage in. And if you use that for like a few months, like give it some time, and then at the end of a month, let's say, if you feel there's things missing in your tool, then go looking for another tool to say, okay,
Mm.
here's what I need it to do. This tool is lacking tagging, and I want to do tagging, for example. So you go with that way. So that's the key thing, is when you're learning a new one. And I love YouTube videos. YouTube
Mm.
videos are the best way to learn almost anything. I just search for how to do this, or I'll search for such and such task management review, and I'll look at the review, look at the screens, and see if I think it's something I can work with. I did a website for a indigenous organization, and they gifted me 2 fresh sockeye salmon, and I had no idea how to clean. I hadn't cleaned a fish in 20 years. I looked on YouTube to find out how to clean these fish. I mean, YouTube
Wow.
can teach you pretty well anything, right? I had the tablet open on the picnic table while I'm cleaning these fish, because so yeah, it's the best way to learn this stuff. And of course, you can work with a trainer or a coach. There's lots of online courses out there you can take on it. But taking that extra time to understand, and I love the power of forums like Reddit
Mm.
or other discussion forums. So the moment I get a new software tool, such as I use for note taking, I use a tool called UpNote. So I joined the UpNote group in Reddit, and then
Reddit.
whenever I've got a question, I post in Reddit, right? So I learn from all the other questions people
Mm.
post. So it's a brilliant way, and people are so helpful on the internet. I'll ask a question, and by the next day, I've got 4 or 5 replies. Some people even created short videos showing me how to do something. I mean, people are awesome. Because the community is amazing.
Honestly, and at the end of the day, a lot of us don't really take advantage of this, because for me, a lot of things I learn are just of the internet. Everything I want to learn is on the internet, and I love learning a lot. Learning. So, when I talked about I talked about my attention span being very short, and I'm wondering where I got it, and you mentioned social media. So let's let's talk about that. What has been the effect of social media and our smartphones on productivity
Well,
in your
first off, it's always
experience?
on. You never get away from it. You get a notification every time something happens, and there is the genuine addiction aspect to it, because you get that
Mm.
dopamine hit of somebody replied to you or somebody did this, and so you're continually being drawn to the phone to check the phone. The phone can be a great productivity tool. I outlined an entire workshop while I was sitting in the doctor's office. I did the entire outline on my phone. But the problem is when it's being used for other things. And I don't know if you've noticed the trend, like in the old days, YouTube videos might be maybe 5 or 10 minutes long, but that was even too long for most people. Now they got YouTube shorts, and they've got, like, what is it, TikTok, where the things can't be over, what is it, 30 seconds or 10
Yeah,
seconds. And I'm going, why would I even bother clicking on something if there's only 10 seconds of content? I mean, it's not worth
exactly.
a click to me. But that seems to be where it's gone to, that really short attention span with that. My brother, I should immortalize him here, I guess. My brother made the comment that he couldn't sit through a 2.5 hour movie anymore. He might be
Wow.
able to do a 1 hour TV show, but movies were getting too long for the attention span, right? And more we're looking for the short content, and that's actually hurt many things. It's actually hurt many channels on YouTube, because the short
Mm.
content's being promoted ahead of the other, but they're not making as much money from it, the YouTube influencers. So I know there's been a lot of discussions in that in the YouTube
Mm.
influencer community. So yeah,
Mm.
there's lots of that. The world's really busy. Things are happening quickly. There's so much more than the previous generations when they grew up. I mean, I didn't have smartphones as a kid. I learned how to type on a manual typewriter, and then an electric typewriter in my last year of school. So I'm that old, yes. But there's so much more you can do with the computers, and they're amazing. But there's also, they can take away from important things as well. And I often recommend to people they do a low tech day. Maybe take Sunday and
Mm.
turn everything off and go out and go do a hike, go out in the woods somewhere, go out and do something fun and physical. All my hobbies are physical because I don't want to be spending all night in front of a computer. So
When you said low tech, they turn off everything, my heart actually beats very fast. And it's really funny because I've been fortunate to have lived when there were no phones. When I was younger, we didn't have any phones.
Yeah.
Later we had the those we only had those dial phones that
Yeah.
only ring when you're in the house.
Yeah.
Then I think like where we're now 2023. I think that was like 25 years ago. Mobile phones started coming in. Then they were only call. Then the internet got into them. And it's funny because these days I'm out and my phone battery dies and I have anxiety. And it's funny because when you really think about it, most of these things you're expecting, these notifications, none of them is urgent, none of them is that important. And like you said, I think I'll really think of implementing that low tech day. Maybe just take a day off, keep the phones away,
Yeah.
keep the laptop away. Yeah, I'll
But
see.
think of something you want to accomplish, something major, something you've always wanted to do.
Hmm.
Maybe you want to build an online course, or maybe you are preparing for a workshop that you have to do in 2 weeks. You have no time to do it. And you're in the middle of doing this workshop preparation and your phone dings.
Hmm.
Suddenly you've broken that focus, and it can take 20 to 30 minutes to get back to the same level of focus, and you may totally lose whatever great idea you had. You ever had a great idea, said gotta remember that, gotta remember that, gotta remember that, and then it's gone, right?
Hmm.
Because that's where you need to take the note right away. So yeah, with the attention span, all the notifications, it takes you away from that deeper focus, which is where real work gets done.
True.
Buildings get built, uh, airplanes get designed. You send people to the moon with focus, not with multitasking. So multitasking is a myth. It really doesn't work. What we're trying to do is we're trying to scatter little bits of focus around when we multitask, and it doesn't give the same level of focus and your concentration and your brain power that you would otherwise. So most of us are really operating only a small fraction of what our
Hmm.
what our brain can do because of the multitasking. So
Yeah, and what you said about multitasking is really true. Because when I was younger, I used to feel I could multitask. But when I actually reviewed what I was doing, you just, okay, you touch this, and you're doing not much in both directions. But like you said, when you focus, you can just do one thing, you finish it, do it perfectly, and you move to the next. So at the beginning, I talked about your book. So can you tell us a bit about your book?
yeah, my book is called Stop Wasting Time. It's focused on ending procrastination. And there's many reasons people procrastinate. So the book goes through a number of techniques for it. But one
Hmm.
example could be if you don't want to do something, you might not want to do something because you're not sure how. So you procrastinate rather than diving in and learning how is one example. Another one is that there's a strange reward to not doing something, putting off something hard till later. There's a reward right now. The problem is the penalties build up later to
True,
not
true.
doing that. At the last minute, you rush and you do it. And I have people who tell me I do my best work under pressure, and it's actually not true, because what it means
Hmm.
is the pressure mind finally force you to park your butt in the chair and get it done, but you didn't do your best work. And often I
Hmm.
find if I have a project that's going to take a long time to do, if I spend an hour on it today, or maybe an hour, a couple of hours every couple of days, your mental back burner starts to work. I'll start to get ideas for that project while I'm out walking. And I get so much wider range of ideas and information that I put into the final project that I wouldn't have
Hmm.
had if I was rushing to try to finish it in the last 3 hours before the deadline. So yeah, it's a huge thing to not procrastinate and to go in and do this. So
Interesting. So, you've been in business for 25 years now. So, what have you learned in this last 25 years that you like to share with us?
oh setting clear vision is really
Hmm.
important, because most entrepreneurs work hard. They often work more than 8 hours a day. They might work 10 or 12 hours a day. So the problem is not work ethic ever. It's usually they work harder than the average person in a job where they're not really worried about their career. The problem is working on the right things and finding where are you going to go. So the key thing, and I kind of call this the time management success formula, that I came up with. So I was trying to come up with, if somebody at a party asked me, well, for one thing I could give them that would make a difference in their life,
Mm-hmm.
what would it be? And my first thought was, gee, that's kind of unfair to distill like 25 years of learning into like a 2-minute conversation, like, come on, and expect me to do that. But the other part of me would look at how desperate these people were and say, okay, challenge accepted. I got to come up with something. So this is the time management success formula in its basic. The
Okay.
first thing is to choose your destination. Choose where it is you want to go. Have that clearly in your mind. So think about it. If you got in your car and start driving, you're going to put miles on, but you're not getting anywhere because you haven't chosen the destination. So it's
True.
obvious if you're going to go on a trip, you choose your destination, and everything else flows from that. Because once you choose a destination, if you're going to vacation in Hawaii or in Europe, then all the other steps become rather obvious. Got to get my passport in place. I got to get accommodation. I got to get my airfare. I mean, all these other steps just flow from the destination. So you want to start with doing the destination first. That's number one. Number two is creating that step-by-step plan on how to reach that destination, on what reach that goal. So if your goal is to launch a new business, you have a very clear idea what your business is going to be, then create that step-by-step plan on how you're going to get there. And I don't mean a business plan that you write once and show to the bank or the lenders and then ignore for the rest of you. This is the real plan that with check tasks you're going to check off as you do them, because these are the key ones you're really going to have to do. So that's and then you take that step-by-step plan and turn that into add it to your task management system. So it's in there. So now you've got a clear vision where you're going, clear destination. You've got step-by-step plan on how to get there. And the third part is just dedicated time to implement the plan, do each of the tasks. So in a nutshell, really, that's it. Choose the key, most important thing you have to do, create that step-by-step plan on how to get there, and then create that dedicated time to do it. And yet, amazingly, almost nobody does it that
Interesting.
way.
So
We dive in, we just grab whatever works in front of us instead of saying to ourselves, oh, is this work towards my most important goal that I want to achieve? And I estimate probably 30 to 50% of most of the tasks my clients are working on, they either shouldn't do at all or they should be done by somebody else. So
true.
up to half of their days are pretty much wasted. So
True. All right. So but still on 25 years of experience, if you were to talk to your younger self, you had to meet your younger self and advise your younger self, what would you tell him to do differently?
ooh, many things. I was painfully shy in high school. So I'd say, be a little more outgoing because those girls really liked you. You found out later. And if you just asked them out, they would have said yes. So sorry, but that's not to do with time management business. One of the things key is to keep the costs down until they're built in as part of the scaling up. So it's very easy. I'm in business now. I need a brand new fancy desk. I need this. I need that. I can do all these things. And until the income's there, that doesn't work. So you need to kind of nail your expenses to a percentage of your income rather than saying, oh, it's okay to lose money for the first few years. I'll live off my savings, because that runs out really quickly. And pricing is key. Pricing things where you make a decent amount of money. We tend to underprice ourselves because we don't think, oh yeah, anybody could do this, and then it's usually we're significantly underpricing what we do. So it's important to set the right price and to get that. So those ones would be key there, that I would say. And the marketing, focus more on the marketing. So most entrepreneurs don't realize, we talked about that they're salesmen and marketers first. That's got to be done first, and then everything else. That generates the income that lets you do the other things, lets you expand, lets you scale, lets you hire employees, lets you do all these things. So.
Interesting. So to our listeners who are mostly business owners, what would you like to share with them? Maybe there's something I missed or something we've not talked about and you feel would be of value, a lot of value to them.
The power of brainstorming. So using the AI in order to generate those kinds of things. If you haven't dug into it yet, it's brilliant. Also, the power of community. I belong to some business networking groups, and in these groups, I meet experts in a wide range of things, and we all share ideas with each other. We talk to each other, and I can't stress how amazing that's been, because if I'm not sure about something, I can ask people and get an answer. And online communities do the same thing. I mentioned in Reddit how often I'll reach out. I had a client who gave me a budget of 5 hours to research and find a certain productivity tool for them. And I was supposed to get back to them in a week. And I got back to them in one day, and I only billed them for an hour and a half. And she said, well, Garland, why aren't you billing me for 5 hours? And how'd you get it done so quick? I said, I cheated. I went out to my community. I said, hey, I've got a client looking for a productivity tool with these features. What do you guys suggest? And 5 or 6 suggestions came in, and one of them fit perfectly, like right off the bat. So I looked like a hero, and I was able to do it quickly. But again, I'm tapping the brain power, the creativity, the knowledge, the experience of all these people. And that is incredibly amazing, when that's been done that way. So
Interesting. So for our listeners who want to learn more from you, who want to probably get your book or connect with you or anything else or work with you, how can they reach you?
best way to reach me is at my website at captaintime.com.
All right. So captaintime.com, that will be linked in the show notes below once this goes live.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. So thank you for coming on the Tech Your Business podcast today. Thank you for sharing with us, sharing your experience over the past 25 years with us. And one thing I would like our listeners to take home: choose your destination, create a step-by-step plan, and then create dedicated time to work on that step-by-step plan. Tell us the results when you're done. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Peter.
Yeah, thank you. So for the listeners, thank you for being with us on this episode of the Tech Your Business podcast. I hope you've picked a lot, because I have picked a lot from this episode. So like he said, captaintime.com if you want to reach him. And till next week, when we come with another episode of the Tech Your Business podcast, don't forget to keep taking your business. Bye for now.